Welcome everyone, I'm so glad you're joining us. We're gonna get into our lesson right away, but before we do that, I wanna talk about laugh. That's right, love, accept, forgive. It's something that we talk about at church all the time, and we are so glad that we get to practice this love, accept, and forgive. Now, why do we do this? Because Jesus did this everywhere he went. He would take time to love people where they were at, he would accept them for who they are, and he would forgive them really quick, no matter what they did. So what does that look like in our lives? Well, maybe your little sister broke your favorite toy, or your little brother hogs all the video game time, or your older brother broke your video game system because he was using it, and maybe he destroyed your tablet. Well, you know what? When we can learn to forgive, that is something that helps us. Because I'll tell you this, when you think of forgiveness and you hold on to bitterness, anger, it doesn't make the other person feel bad. It makes you feel bad. Right? You hold on to bitterness and you're like, oh, I'm so mad at them, I'm so mad. And they go on living their life, but then you just be upset all the time. So when we can learn to forgive, that is something that is really powerful in our lives. So I want to challenge you, whenever you feel the need to hold on to something or to be angry or to be upset, then make sure that you are quick to forgive, because that is going to help set you free from so many things. Remember, love, accept, forgive.
All right, what's up, G4? So these are the moves for your glory. So just follow along with me. It's gonna be good. All right. So you're gonna start with your right arm. This is my right. That'll be like this. There is freedom in your name. To the side. We will never be the same. And then I call this a roll your boat. You start with your right elbow, and then point out right arm. There's power. Roll your boat. We're gonna start off with the left side like this, going this way. As it's cool, sweep your feet. That's right. And you're gonna go from side to side like this, and you can clap at the end. But it's kind of up to your interpretation, all right? Make sure you're always together. And then back to the verse. This arm. Right elbow. Hey. There's power. You know the moves. Come on, keep going. Doing good. Side to side. And we're moving to the bridge. Right arm. You're gonna go down. And then arms out. So we sing and we shout. One more time. Down. There is hope for ending. Arms out. In you, Jesus. And get ready, we're gonna go to the chorus. Here we go. We will sing at the top of our lungs. We will shout, Jesus, you are the one. We will dance, because of your love. We sing, we shout, we dance. One more time. We will sing at the top of our lungs. End it out side to side.
Hey everyone, I am back. I'm so excited to be here with you. I hope that you have been enjoying this amazing summer. You know, God gives us such awesome things in our lives, and we are talking this month all about focus. That's right. And all throughout this month, we are focusing on a word called faith. Now, what faith is trusting in what you can't see because of what you can see. Now, when we look at the world, we don't see God with our physical eyes, but we can see the amazing things that He's created, and we can see the things that He's placed in us so that we can create things as well. Now, here's what I want to give you an example of. Take a look. This first one is something amazing that God created. It is called the Pearl Waterfall, and it's found in China. God created that. Now, here's another one. This is the Kirkjufell Mountain in Iceland. This is gorgeous and a beautiful thing that God created when He made the earth. But now I want to show you something else. This is something really cool. When we take a look at this one, it's huge. That is a pyramid, but God didn't build the pyramid when He formed the earth. In fact, what God did was He actually put the materials to build that all around the earth. He put it all over, and then He gave humans the ability to build and to create and to plan and to think. And we got to do that because God placed amazing things in us. Now, if you want to know just how big this is, take a look at this picture. But now when we zoom in, look, that is a person. Look how tiny they look. Isn't that amazing? These things are huge. If you haven't looked up the pyramids, definitely check them out. They are really cool. Now, the last thing that I want to show you is another statue that was built by people, but this is something that God placed the materials and the creativity in the people so that we could build this one day. Now, this is a statue that's in Brazil, and it is called Christ the Redeemer, and it's actually to glorify Jesus. And what it is it's been in Brazil for almost 100 years. Now, that's amazing. That is a long time to have that statue up there, but people were able to build that statue because of the gifts and abilities and the planning and imagination that God placed in us. So when we talk about faith, we know that it's trusting in what we can't see because of what we can see. Well, we're going to get into our Bible story, and we are going to catch up with Paul. If you don't know who Paul is, we've been talking about him off and on for the last several weeks, and we've been following his journey because he started out attacking Christians. He started attacking believers who followed Jesus. He wanted to put a stop to it until one day he met Jesus. And a few weeks ago we talked about this, where he met Jesus, he saw that God wanted good things for him, and he decided to turn around and start telling people about Jesus. And in fact, he went from attacking people to helping people, and he started showing them the love and the gospel, and he started leading tons of people to Jesus to start following them. And he helped build the church that we see today. He helped all of these things because he turned his life around. Well, right now we're going to catch up with a story where Paul comes into Athens, which is in Greece, and he is about to tell them all about the gospel. But it wasn't as easy as you think. Let's take a look.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Acts, chapter 17, verses 16 through 34.
Wherever Paul went, he boldly preached the good news of Jesus.
This Jesus I'm telling you about is the Messiah.
Many Jews and Greeks believed in Jesus, but in nearly every town, a group of Jews would gather to oppose Paul. He and his companions were forced out of Thessalonica, and then later that same group of Jews followed to run Paul out of Berea. Eventually, the believers helped Paul escape to the coast, where he could travel by boat to Athens.
Tell Silas and Timothy to join me as soon as they can.
Once Paul reached Athens, he walked the streets of the ancient city, disturbed by what he saw. Carved and molded statues everywhere.
Statues of their gods. The people really believe false gods can help them.
In fact, the Athenians believed in around 30,000 false gods. Yeah, they believed these gods were in charge of everything from sports to sleep to doors and cleanliness.
the God of grapes. Okay?
While Paul waited for his friends, he visited the Jewish synagogue to tell Jews and Greeks alike about Jesus. And in the marketplace, he spoke to anybody who would listen.
You have to hear about Jesus. He was killed, but he came back to life.
Paul's words stirred up a group of Athenian thinkers. These men felt that they could achieve perfection through knowledge and wisdom.
Can you explain what this fellow is chattering about?
He seems to be telling us about gods we've never heard of.
We shall take this Paul to a meeting of the Areopagus. There, we shall reason it out.
Set high on an outcropping of rock, the Areopagus was the high court of Athens. And from this viewpoint, Paul could see all of Athens spread out below him. Closer at hand, the gathered Epicureans and Stoics studied Paul.
What is this new teaching you're giving us?
You have some strange ideas we've never heard before.
We would like to know what they mean.
Paul took a deep breath. These people treated new ideas like playthings, so he wanted to connect the story of Jesus with something they already knew.
People of Athens, I see that you are very religious in every way.
We are aware of this. Please proceed.
Paul recalled a small carved altar he had discovered while exploring the city.
As I walked around, I looked carefully at the things you worship. I even found an altar with "To an unknown God" written on it. Now, I'm going to tell you about this unknown God.
Paul explained to them that the true God created the entire world and everything in it. He created each individual person with a purpose and an adventure to live.
He did it so that people would seek him and find him, even though he is not far from any of us.
Preposterous.
Continue.
Paul knew that these Athenians might listen to the words of their own writers that might actually reflect something of who God is.
In him we live and move and exist. As some of your own poets have also said, we are his children.
An interesting point.
Paul told them that people are God's children. God is alive and real, not some carved statue or molded from gold. And now by sending Jesus, God was telling everyone everywhere to turn away from the bad things they've done and to follow him.
God has proved this to everyone by raising Jesus from the dead.
Preposterous.
Fascinating.
More like fantasy. Get this joker out of here.
No. This is new, fresh. We will hear you speak about this again sometime.
A man called Dionysius had been among the crowd at the Areopagus. He hurried to catch up as Paul left.
I want to know more about this living God, about Jesus.
I can help you, friend.
So Paul continued to spread the good news and love of Jesus, and after a short time, Dionysius became a follower of Jesus, as well as a woman named Damaris and several others.
When Paul got to Athens, the Greek people believed in thousands of gods. As he walked in, he saw all of these different statues to every single god. There were so many gods that they believed in. But here's the thing, none of those gods were real. And so he knew that he could tell them about the one true God. And so as he went and he started preaching to the people about Jesus and how much he loved them, how he came to earth, he lived a perfect life, he died and then rose again so that they could be in heaven one day. And people started to turn to God. They started to follow Jesus because they knew that this love was so amazing because Paul was preaching it. Now here's the thing, we can share Jesus as well. We can tell others about Jesus. That's what we're learning today. We can tell others about Jesus. You can tell others about Jesus. So here's what I want to show you. This kind of looks like it does in our lives when we tell others about Jesus. Now, what am I saying? I don't know if you know dominoes, but I like to play with dominoes, but I don't just like to play games with dominoes. I actually like to take dominoes, line them up, and then knock them over and make a big chain reaction. And this is kind of how it looks like in our lives, because let's say this domino is you. And so you see Jesus, you meet Jesus, you start to follow him, and you start to tell someone else in your life about him. And then they tell someone else in their life. and then they tell someone else in their life. And it keeps going on and on until so many people know about Jesus and how much he loves us. Ready? I'm gonna show you. This is what it looks like. So you start telling someone about Jesus, and then from there, it's a chain reaction. Look at that. That is so cool. When we focus on telling others about Jesus, it will help change their lives, and not just their life, but someone else around them. Because it's such good news that they're gonna turn around and tell someone else, and tell someone else, and so on, just like what happened with Paul in Athens. Now this was amazing because he knew that he could tell others about it. So how do we tell others about Jesus? Well, it's actually pretty simple if you think about it, because you tell others about what God has done in your life. Maybe you can tell them about the stories that you've read in the Bible and the things that you know in your own life, where maybe God has helped you with fear, or God has helped you with anxiety, where you started to get over those things and you started to focus on his love and how much he cares about you and having peace in your life. Maybe it was loneliness and God came in and he was a friend to you and you knew you could talk to him anytime. Or maybe it was a miracle where you saw something happen that you don't even know how it could have happened, but it did, where you were given something or you ended up being protected from something. You know, I've had that happen in my life where I was in a car accident and there's no way that I should have been able to come out of it without being hurt. But I literally walked out of it without a scratch. My car was completely destroyed, and looking at it after, I don't even know how I could have got away with it other than God protected me. And so when we tell stories like that, that is how we can change people's lives. Now you might be thinking, I don't have a crazy story yet. I don't have something where God saved me or God helped me or God protected me. That's okay. Here's the thing. If you know God, if you know Jesus, if you've asked him into your life, if you've been a friend to him, then you know what it's like to have that with him. Maybe it's just telling your friend that when you're really stressed or you're really upset, you can just talk to God and say, God, help me to calm down. And he helps you. There are so many ways that God is involved in our lives. And when we tell others about that, that's all it takes, is just sharing our stories and looking at stories in the Bible and sharing those with people so that they know how much God loves them. And even then we can tell them that Jesus came, he lived a perfect life. He died and then he rose again so that we could go to heaven one day. Now for a lot of you, you've made this decision before when we're talking about accepting Jesus and when we talk about this gift of salvation. And for that is the best choice you could ever make. But if you've never made that choice before, I want to give you a chance to do that. I want to give you a chance to follow Jesus, just like all those people in Athens did when Paul taught them about Jesus. It's as simple as this. We're going to say a prayer. Now a prayer is just talking to God. It's simply saying, God, I want to follow you and be your friend. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna lead you in this and you can repeat this after me. So if you're saying this for the first time, in fact, I want everyone to close your eyes. And if you're saying this for the first time, I want you to believe this, okay? Here we go. If you've said this before, you don't have to say it again. But if this is your first time, I want you to repeat this after me. Say, Dear God, I love you. Thank you for the gift of Jesus. Forgive me of my mistakes. Help me to follow you for the rest of my life and to tell others about you. In Jesus' name, amen. Awesome. That is the best choice you could ever make. I wish I could give you a high five or a hug right now. I'm so proud of you for making that choice. If you have made that choice before, that is awesome as well. Don't worry. But if you just made that choice today, what I want you to do is I want you to tell someone in your family. It can be your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, whoever it is. Go ahead and tell someone in your family that you decided to follow Jesus today, because that is the best choice you could ever make. And now he's going to be in your life forever, helping you and guiding you and telling you things that you can be able to do and be able to know how he wants you to live the best, most amazing, incredible life. And remember, you can always tell others about Jesus. From this day forward, you can tell them about how awesome he is and how he is in your life. Well, we're gonna change it up now and we're going to play a game. This is gonna be a really special game where you really have to focus. Now, if you've ever used a microscope, you know that it can be hard to tell what something is when you're looking at it really close, itty bitty. But we're gonna do something like that today. So what I've done is I've got a few pictures and we're gonna start with these pictures zoomed in really close, okay? So we're gonna start with them zoomed in nice and close, and then you are going to have to figure out what they are. So you can figure out what it is. Is it a cat? Is it a building? Is it a fire hydrant? I don't know. You gotta look at it. You gotta decide. We're gonna give you about 10 seconds of video with it zoomed in, and then it's gonna zoom out and show you what the whole thing is. So get your family together, see if you can figure out which item it is, and decide from there, and then we're gonna zoom out and you're gonna see what it is, see how many you can get right, and see who is the winner in your family, all right? Okay, here we go. Have fun.